Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home, and as always, there's beer and soda or bottles of water in the fridge. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hell yes. It's fucking Thursday. I'm having a good time. I've had a nice, productive day off work. The weather's nice. Things are great. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good.
How's
Thanks
it
for
going?
having me.
Thanks for asking to be on the show.
Yeah.
It's always so great to meet new people, learn about new bands, and continue over 300 episodes later to be still learning about new things in the city.
You've done 300 episodes.
Yes, I've recorded over 300.
Wow. I didn't scroll that far down.
Yes, it's been quite a hoop, quite a journey.
Yeah.
But I am sitting here today with my new friend, rock and rollin', curly hairin', Jay of the Hawkeyes. Make some noise for the internet. So, for anyone out there who is not familiar with the Hawkeyes, I believe it is fair to say that you are a no bullshit, no gimmicks rock and roll band.
That's right.
How would you describe it? Or is that pretty much on the nose?
That's a good description. That's one way. There's 1,000 ways to describe rock and roll, but I like that. All of them are cool usually. It's definitely not boring.
Yeah.
That's what's, and we try and be exciting and I don't know. Just
it's
we like to kick you in the ass in a good way where it makes you feel good. Kind of like that workout that you're reluctant to do, and then once you do it, you're like, I want some more of that.
Hell yeah,
or that line of cocaine. Whatever.
So, the Hawkeyes. I don't know much about the band, but I've seen that you've been super active for a while. Mm-hmm. Can I get just like a quick backstory on the band? When did it start?
Well, officially 2013, actually. We, group of guys, I joined a group of guys because I was just doing the solo thing with my acoustic guitar. And I just occasionally would get band gigs. I'd need a backing band, and I just kept using the same guys. And I was like, hey guys, I got this gig, and what do we call ourselves? And we just we threw a bunch. We just were trying to throw easy names. What are people going to remember? And we'll just change it if we don't like it. So it was like, Hawkeyes, and then it was up on the on the billboard. I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool, and
yeah, hell yeah.
And then we were like, well, we'll change it eventually. We'll come up with something, a little, cooler, something snappy, or something more clever. And we never did. It was just kind of.
And that's it.
Yeah, and that's how we got. That's really the story behind the name. Yeah, there really was there's no mystic meaning behind it.
Yeah.
It's not named after the Iowa mascot. It's not named after the superhero. Even though it'd be. When we describe it to people, it's like the superhero, like the guy that shoots the bows and arrows, But so we started back then, and we were actually like an Americana rock band, kind of in the vein of like Uncle Tupelo, Drive By Truckers.
Well, that might make sense because you were coming from you doing acoustic. What you said, right? You're kind of transitioning from that and starting to bring in the rock elements.
My acoustic stuff was very, it had, I was into. I was always into the Beatles and always into, those late 90s, early 2000s bands. But also when I did the acoustic thing, I kind of focused on like what Ryan Adams was doing or something like that. Or,
that makes sense.
Elliott Smith and stuff like that. And so with the band, I was like, okay, what's a harder edge to this? And that's Tupelo, and that's Sunvolt, and that's DBT, and we were like, we can do, we looked at it's kind of like looking at a sports team. It's like, okay, I have these 5 players. This is what we can do to be successful. This is how we can get a song played and not fall flat on our fucking face. And so that's what we did. And we tried that for a couple years and put out some, EPs, and we put out one album under like that type of style in 2015, but that's the One Plug in the Wall album that's out there. Had some lineup changes from here and there. I mean, that's being in a band, I guess. That's being on the road. It's hard. Guys want to have families and stuff. And then in 2016, I met Sean McDonald, our current producer, and he's basically like the fifth guy in the band.
Yeah.
He just, anytime I need a word of advice or what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I usually turn to him. I met him and he asked me, he's like, hey, we should, I'd like to, do a project with you, like, maybe an album, maybe a single, whatever you want to do. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And, I was like, who have you worked with before? And then I found out he did a lot of the Clark's stuff, which is, great. And then he did a Gene the Werewolf album pretty recently. And I just sonically, I was like, oh, wow, this reminds me of other influences of mine, like Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age, and the production element, the quality of it. Green Day, like Nimrod from Nimrod on Green Day. And I was like, I like that. I was like, if we can get something on tape that, makes us sound that good, as long as the songs are there, I was like, yeah, let's work with this guy. And, and I said to the guys, like, I think we should work with this guy. And so we did that. And he didn't make us change the genre. He just kind of dropped a hint at me. He's like, you talk about these other influences. He's like, well, what about just maybe woeing back the Americana element of it? And that was, I was like, what? I don't, I'm like, well, that's our thing, that's our brand, you got to have a brand, you got to have a focus, and we got to have a niche, a subgenre.
Sure.
Yeah. And we're this. And he asked a question, which really struck home with me. He's like, well, how'd your last album sell? I went, how much airplay did it get? How much attention did it get? You playing the gigs you want to play? You on the tours that you want to be on? You getting attention from the tastemakers that you want attention from? I'm like, no to all those. He's like, I'm not telling you to change who you are, how you write. He's like, I don't think you've opened the faucet up enough. And so that's what we did. And we went to work. I brought in 20 songs and we whittled it down, and he picked them apart and it was like, take this out. And at first, like anybody, like one that changes anything, that is told to change something, what's your immediate reaction 99% of the time? Well, no.
Sure.
This is a good thing. This is working out for me. This is my
baby.
Yeah. Like, no, especially your creative outlet, your music.
Yeah.
I was like, and what I didn't realize is I was just going back to a comfort zone of what was before. And it's not saying it was bad, but it was getting kind of stale. And honestly, there was a lot of other bands out there doing the same sort of thing, some better than us and some, equal to us and some worse, So, but for what it's worth was, I finally saw, I can't remember the day or the time where I just kind of had that aha, this needs to happen, let's stop wearing the Levon Helm flannels and the raggedy blue jeans and start wearing, really depressing black clothing.
Sure.
And but I don't know what clicked in me, but I thought, you know what? I think it was, I watched a Foo Fighters live concert, them at Hyde Park from 2008. And I was like, just listening to the music that they're playing and watching him rev up that crowd and watching him do what he does. And I understand he was in Nirvana. he had a big head start that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
But it was really what I concentrated on was the sonics of it, was the music. I was like, I can do that. I can do exactly what they're doing right there. And I'm not saying I can do it better, but I can play rock music like that, or like AC/DC, watching them play live, how they just get a crowd going. Everyone's just magnetized towards their energy and on a subconscious level. And I was like, I want to make an album where I can lay it down on tape like that and then be able to play it live with that sort of connection. And so that's what we sought out to do. And I think we did it, with this album, which I have one for you. It's in the van.
It's all good.
I was like, as soon as I stepped in, I was like, shit, I forgot. I was going to give you a CD, even though the CDs are like, I was just talking to my, guy, Luke, the guy who's going to be here, drummer. Yeah. I'm like, CDs anymore are just, they're another piece of merch. Like some people don't even open them now. They just buy them and keep them as, like a Transformer toy that you don't take out of the box. It loses its value once they take the plastic off of it. But I'm getting off topic.
I mean, people like CDs still. I think if you have a good album, people will want to own a physical copy of it.
Exactly. And if people are consistently showing up to shows, they want the hard copy as well as, they just want to be able to hold it in their hand and look at, the credits and stuff like that. But
it's people like CDs still. It's a big thing that I've seen, and you hear so many people talking about it. And it's just like, nobody's buying our CDs. I'm just like, your album probably sucks. I'm sorry to say it. They
buy them, but just they're like T-shirts now.
Yeah.
Like and if your T-shirts are, if your music's great, they'll buy your T-shirt. They'll pay money for your fucking stickers. People have given us $5. I want a sticker. I was like, well, they're free. They're like, well, take it anyways.
Yeah,
I like
totally.
And like they'll buy your merch if they like your music. But I mean, I know I haven't bought a CD. I can't remember the last time I bought a CD.
I haven't bought a CD in a long time.
Other than from my friend's band.
Mm-hmm.
I've bought I've been to a friend's show and we've done a CD trade. We do that thing out on the road, but a lot of times I'll buy one off of them just to support them. But yeah, anymore, I mean, I don't know. I might get hated on by some purists, but I gave up my purity belt a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love Spotify. I just love being able to go, you know what? I want to listen to some King's X today.
Totally.
I want to listen to this Smashing Pumpkins song today. I love it. And not having to pull it up on YouTube, because before I got Spotify, I just pulled everything up on YouTube. And Spotify is just, I love it. I think it's great for music. I think it's somebody put it to me this way, and I was like, because at first I was like, man, it's such a bitch that we just don't get paid as much on Spotify. But if you think about it, when someone buys a CD, that's $10, and then they can play it an infinite amount of times, and then you don't get paid or credit for every time they play your songs off that CD.
Sure.
But every time your song is played on Spotify, only for just 30 seconds, you get a little something for that.
The other thing too that I don't think enough people think about, when you're selling a CD,
mm-hmm.
Are you making money off of the music? Or are you making money off of the jewel case, the booklet, the digital printing, the actual physical product? Do you actually put the value of your music into the cost of your CD? Or are you just like, oh, well, we got 1,000 CDs and they cost us this much money, so we have to charge this much for them to make our money back? That's just a physical product.
Exactly.
You're still not making money off the music itself. You're just replacing the money you spent on the physical product.
That's right.
So
exactly.
People don't think about that. And it's still like, a lot of the time you hear people complaining about we don't make money off Spotify, and you could go, I feel like I'm calling people out today really hard, so I apologize.
Good.
I'm not calling any names, but it's like you'll hear this shit and then you go on to their band's Spotify and it's like 5 monthly listeners. It's like nobody knows who you are. That's why you're not making any money.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's like I know how many listeners my bands get, and I know I've seen how much we've made off Spotify. And okay, yeah, we're not buying a fucking van. We're not doing anything with that money. It's big, but it's still like hundreds of dollars that we've made that was just from us uploading it to the internet.
Yeah.
And it was like, it costs us, we use DistroKid, so it's like, the $30 a year or whatever, but we've definitely made way more than that back. So it's been, in a way, a little bit more profitable than the CDs. In some aspects, if you look at the cost to distribute versus your profit made back.
And it's more profitable because now what we've noticed is, we're getting little bits of attention, but in markets that we've never played before, Europe, Brazil, it's just like, okay, now, as those markets, as our listens grow in those areas, we have reason to go there. When we weren't even thinking about it before. We were just like, well, we'll just, we'll go to this city and, or 6 hours from here.
Even if it's not your band, but if there's a band that sounds a lot like you that's on a lower level, you could find out where people are listening to those bands just to know if like a city has an interest in rock and roll still, or if they're only listening to rap music there, or if they have an interest in progressive melodic technical death metal. Like if you're having like a real niche focus, you can find those places.
Doom metal.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my, I just love I love that term. I don't know a single doom metal band. Probably if you said a name, I'm like, oh, they're doom metal. Okay. But it's so fascinating, like doom metal. Like, because I was looking up some festivals today, and I came across a full-blown doom metal festival. In Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah,
and I'm
Maryland Doom Fest.
Yeah. And
shout outs to Jake the Hawk, Pittsburgh band. I believe they're playing this year. Yeah,
I was like, I want to go to that because because a lot of times festivals, there's only like maybe 2 or 3 bands that you like, but think about going to a doom festival and you're a doom fan. That's got to be heaven on earth for doom metal fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was like sitting there going, man, how fucking cool would that be if I was a doom metal fan? And, like, you just plan, all year. Yeah. I'm going to the fucking Maryland Doom Fest.
So what is like your personal background in music before you were playing the solo shows with the guitar, before the band, before you even picked up an instrument?
I was nobody.
What were you listening to though? Like, what was your interest coming up with music?
I mean, my dad. My dad's a Beatles fan.
Okay,
he grew.
The classics.
I grew up on the Beatles, and I grew up on Neil Young, and he was really into America and the Eagles, and I never caught on to them. I was never into like that. Those pure harmonies. I appreciate them. I can hear the. You sit there and listen. I was like, wow, they wrote this when they were 16. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, huh?
Yeah. But
producers, though.
Yeah. Right. But so that's where the music comes from. That's where it first comes from. Is my dad's a musician, and he turned me on to bands like Yes. Which then when I discovered Yes, of course, you automatically just bump into Rush, which is, awesome, and then, I always had an affinity for some reason, I don't know where it comes from because my dad's not really into heavier music, is I just got into like, bands like Motorhead, like stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
I was never a metal fan. I was never really, I couldn't wrap my head around it. It's one of those things where, and punk music, I could never, sit through a whole set of punk music. I guess I'm not a mosh pit guy. I tried. I got my ass kicked too many times, but I like heavier music, like like someone like what I consider heavy is like Godsmack, something like that.
Sure.
Melodic. I like to hear melodies, and I like to hear a guy singing, and I like to hear, or a girl, Hailstorm.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lizzie. But I like hearing, dirty, in your face, heavy, rock and roll music, AC/DC. I consider them a heavy band.
Totally, yeah.
Because there's muscle to them. There's strength there and there's power, but there's also just wonderful, wonderful melody. Like you hear, sometimes you just hear a chord played a certain way and you're like, that's Highway to Hell, that's Thunderstruck,
What's a cool thing with a band like AC/DC that was able to just they have their own unique voice in the spectrum of rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like, I feel most people that have even the most basic understanding or knowledge of music, you could just play a random AC/DC cut and it's just like, is this fucking AC/DC? Like you can know it. But there's so many other bands where it's like, what is this? Who is this?
Yeah.
And it's just because it just kind of gets thrown into the crock pot of mediocrity.
Right. I marvel at them because they, they're very much like them and the Cult kind of they did the same thing for 20 years, but it was like, it never got stale. I could listen to the Cult for hours. I could listen to all their catalog and just never get tired, even though it's the same fucking chord progression. At least it feels that way.
Sure.
But I'm like, I just don't get tired of Billy Duffy's guitar playing. And the same thing with Angus and Malcolm. I was like, I just don't get tired of this. This doesn't get boring.
It's like getting tired of pizza. It just doesn't happen, dude.
Right.
Just like sometimes simplicity is the best way forward.
Yeah.
And it really, most of the things that last long, the things that stand the test of times are things that are built very simply and well, whether it is a good song or pizza or a good car or some piece of archaic technology. I don't know, something. The wheel. There you go.
The wheel. That's right.
It's a simple thing, right?
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I think that's.
And what I like about there's newer bands that are, I mean, I hope they continue going, is like a band like Royal Blood. They kind of do the same thing. They kind of, they have this formula, but each song has its little difference, and I just don't get tired of listening to them.
Well, I think that there's a weird thing as an artist when you start putting too much expectation on yourself to be great. And I think that overall, you should try to be a great artist, be good at what you do. But every little thing that you do, every little song doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Right. I feel like sometimes it's real easy to think that every time you pick up a guitar, you're going to fucking, the end of the day, you're going to have the next Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like, it's not going to fucking happen, dude. Like, it's okay sometimes for songs to just be songs. And if it sounds a little bit like the last thing you did, well, it's your voice. It's you. It's probably good that it sounds like you.
Yeah. I run into that a lot. I write on a daily basis. Well, I attempt to write on a daily basis. And
you think about it all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. It just, it's happens a lot when I'm driving.
It's in your head, like dude. Yeah. It's a part of you.
And the what you just said with that, you hit on a good point, is like sometimes you'll just pick up a guitar and it'll be like days, sometimes a week, and you'll just be like, nah, like that. And then you'll come back to that same idea that you were just trying to I don't know, just throw in, what's a weirder way I can do this? What's a different way I can do this? And, a lot of times it's just like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, 3-chord this motherfucker. I'm going to play D, C, G or E, D, A and just get a really solid, sing something really solid, just find a nice hook or a melody. And then I'll deviate the chord progression.
Sure.
And that was a trick that Sean taught me a lot, was when we were getting together. A lot of the stuff that the bare bones of it was so minimal. I mean, they were like, I'm trying to think of what band. There was this one song that we had on there. It's Now or Never, and when we first, we had it written, we had it rehearsed as a band before we brought it to him, and it was like a Tom Petty song. We kind of played it like Running Down a Dream a little bit.
Hell yeah.
And
that song's a fucking ripper, dude.
It's a ripper. We're like, we love the pacing of it. We love, we loved everything about it. We had everything, and slowly but surely, Sean and I took it in this direction, and now it sounds like a Queens of the Stone Age song. It's to me, I'm like, wow, that's 10 times better. It's not just a Tom Petty knockoff now. It's its own fucking thing, and all it was the same 3 chords, but essentially, at least within the melody, and then just different inflections in the voice, different voicings from different guitars, different tones, and different, little things here and there. That's where we got all the complex shit. Because I think a lot of times, I can't speak for other writers, but what the problem that I run into is I try and start from the end product and work the song backwards.
Sure.
Because you can hear, you kind of have this vision of like what the song should sound like, from the end point, and then you try and start from there. It should sound like this. Mm-hmm. When sometimes what you said, you need to start from a more basic perspective and just get the material out. It's
like, you ever see a building being built and it looks like it's exactly. You never see it built backwards. But when a building is being built, it's like, it's just like a bunch of beams and weird basic structures, and you maybe it's like something you pass on your way to work, and like you see this fucking thing every day.
Yeah.
And then one day it goes from being the thing to a completely, it's like, what the fuck? It's because like all the work is just in getting the basic structures.
Well, that's why I firmly believe we're living in a computer simulation, because I just don't think anything like that's possible, because I've never had the patience to sit through and see anything through like that from point A to point C.
Or it could be like, writing a song like chicken noodle soup. It's a simple thing, but it's all in the herbs and spices that you put in it. You know what I mean? And how you just like that seasoning at the end, much plates of food that they're simple. It's just those little things. But you need to have like a solid base, is this chicken cooked well? I don't know. Are these noodles overdone? Whatever sort of bullshit you want to get into. Is this riff overdone? Yeah. Did I take the time to, cook this rhythm section properly?
Yeah. Am I trying too hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time when I'm writing songs, if I'm having an issue or I feel like it's not going anywhere, chances are it probably needs less before it needs something more. I probably have too much going on, and it's just like there's no space to think. So it's like, fuck, we got to take something out. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. It varies from song to song, but usually less is more, I find.
And sometimes, and the reverse can happen is, we did some rehearsal a lot. I'm like, hey, don't play that here and here and here. Let's hear what that sounds like. And then you'll hear it without it. It's like, you know what? Put it back in. You take something away to hear, just to hear why is, like a lot of times it'll be bugging you. It's like, why is that there? Why is that there? And then you take it away and you're like, oh, that's why it's there. I get it. Okay.
It's just, in general, it's just really easy to go pretty close to insane when listening to the same song over and over and over and over again.
I don't know how producers and engineers do it. How they just don't get ear fatigue.
Well, I think they all probably do. I just think that successful producers have productive ways of dealing with it.
Yeah. You should have Sean in here sometime. I actually wanted him to come along too, but he had an engagement tonight. He's like, dude, you got to tell me about this sooner. I was like, I told you about it.
No, it's all good. I would love to have him on. Sean, come over right now.
Yes.
So right now, with the Hawkeyes back to current times.
Current times.
What is the band doing in 2020?
Touring as much as we can. We head out for a little trip tomorrow. Just a short little trip, just 2 days. The March is always really light. Every year it seems really light. We don't really go too far in March, and then it gets a little heavier in April, a little heavier in May. There's always this lull after Memorial Day weekend, and then June, July, and August are just like, we're like just playing nonstop.
Yeah,
and yeah, we're looking to. I mean, we want to get in front of in as many markets as possible. We want to we'd like to see what powers that be that we can attract, and we know the best way to do that. At least from our perspective, it's not. We're not one of those artists that can just like a YouTube artist that can just.
There's a Hawkeyes TikTok page isn't going to be taken off anytime soon,
and you can do that nowadays, which is cool. You can be that producer that just pumps out Spotify hits from their living room. God bless them. Our method is.
When you're a rock and roll band,
you
belong in a fucking bar somewhere, just playing loud.
Yeah,
that's what you need to do.
We want to play on some. We want to play on some big stages,
and the people that
and the only way to get on the bigger stages is to kick ass on the smaller stages. Because the one thing I tell the guys all the time, I was like, I don't care if there's 5 fucking people in there or 5,000 people in there. You play like there's 5,000 people there, and because. You got to give a shit.
Yeah.
And because if you're up there and and people see that you're passionate about what you're doing, they'll believe it. And then they'll want to come back and see it again. I mean, I know like the gig that we have this Saturday, it's in Wisconsin. Pretty sure it's not sold out yet, but it will sell out. We had one of our best first time we ever played there, we had one of our best nights ever. Everybody was locked in. Everybody was on point, and there was a room full of people there, and those people really connected with us.
Hell yeah.
And now they come back every time we go there. So honestly, that was like playing out in Wisconsin is what really, I wouldn't say saved things for me, but it was like it cleared out a lot of doubt that I had before, because there was the whole rock's dead, like that, and people only want to listen to EDM and people only want to listen to hip hop anymore. And I was like, well, maybe that's true. It's like, and I don't hate on those genres. It's just, more power to them. Maybe it's their time and it's not our time, but my mind was changed by that, because I was like, we went out there and we had a killer set. And then the next time we went out there and played, that's when it was like, oh, wow, we have something here. And this is before the album came out and everything.
Yeah.
There was a line around the block waiting for us to go in. I went, oh, wow.
That's super cool. Hell yeah.
That's super cool. That doesn't even happen in our hometown.
Hell yeah.
So I was like, okay. There's something tangible here. Now we need to the last thing we need to do is pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, cool, we did it. How do we do it everywhere else? That's 2020 for us. Mm-hmm. We had a nice sellout show at Hard Rock in November for the album release. And we had another sellout out in Appleton, Wisconsin. And I was like, okay, we can do those in those places and a couple other cities. So how do we do this everywhere we go? And that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
There's no formula to it for me other than
there's no formula for anyone. There's no recipe.
Yeah. The only formula there is for me is the Gary Vaynerchuk formula. Everyone's got, y'all got the same 24, don't quit bitching, quit complaining, quit feeling entitled to shit, because in the music industry, you're not entitled to anything.
Sure.
You pull out your union card and say, oh, I deserve this because I put the time in. No one cares. The market doesn't care. They don't care.
Fuck no.
They don't care.
Fuck no.
So, and it's like, so what's cool about that is, I tell the guys, is like, what's cool about that there's no entitlements any for, time put in. We can control what we do and be great at it. And it's in our hands as far as like our success, because, a couple of the guys have asked, well, how do we get this big manager? How do we get, this, how do we get into Epicenter? How do we get to play Firefly? I was like, put people in venues,
Yeah.
show them numbers. And you don't have to use smoke and mirrors to attract them. You don't have to use a cool pitch.
Yeah.
You can just email them and be like, look, we packed rooms here, 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 here. Or you don't even need to do that. They'll notice.
Yeah.
They'll notice that.
I think, just having a focus on writing good music
And
playing good shows.
Those have to be a given.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think a lot of people forget that.
the music and the performance are kind of like, those are givens. You have to have those already in place before the next step, which is actually getting fucking people out to see the shit.
I think that it's hard to deny that there is not a big part of the current music culture that just thrives on mediocrity. And it's more about, this is a good looking brand. It's more about being a brand versus a band. And there's a lot of bands that look good and they have good photos and they have their good online presence and they got a good manager and they got fake numbers online and they can just weasel their way into whatever. They're all temporary as fuck. They don't last, but they're taking up time on a stage that the Hawkeyes could be playing, or like Grey Walker could be playing, or your band could be playing. And it's like, it's a nightmare trying to like get people to pay attention to you, where when you're like when you have all that shit going on. But I'm sure that's not anything new.
No,
it's just, I'm sure the music industry's always been like this. It's just, I feel like it's a lot easier to do the smoke and mirrors now, because there's so much more, the tools that are on our hands now to, make everything look and sound so great and be so professional. And, anybody can send anybody an email from anything with, photoshopped images and fake numbers and weird documents. And it's just, it's like,
it can be,
I just try not to even think about it or get distracted. Don't worry that other people are doing it. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. And don't get sucked into that. Don't get tricked into thinking that like, oh, well, we have some half-written songs and we're okay live, but if we have a really good online following, and if we get a manager, we'll get onto Pitchfork and then we'll be done. That's it for us. We're good. Like we'll be taking off from there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in bands that have like thrown money at managers that have just like copy and pasted album links, and they've gotten posted on things like a Pitchfork or Noisy or like some metal publications. And it's like, sure, it's there. I see that, like, but nobody is actually still seeing it. It's not like, it's just like a dead link on a big website.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I push for those things, but it needs to be like in a genuine way, because like you've just recorded a killer fucking album and you're playing a ton of shows and people are talking about it. I feel like if you have a good buzz, people are going to come to you. You're not going to need to start blind, like, sending fucking 400 emails a day,
spamming the shit out of people. Yeah.
Like trying to get people to pay attention to you. I don't know in like what situation that ever works for anyone.
I don't know either. That's why, I like when I've heard of, I'm not going to name them, other artists who bought likes on, on Facebook and they bought, plays on Spotify and to boost their numbers. I'm like, do you understand that like those aren't, like, I don't know. It's like, why would you do that? Because like, it's just, it's gonna, like your numbers might not be where they are right now, but like all you got to do is put a little bit of time in each day and keep putting out good music and keep putting out something that's honest, and then the honest numbers are going to get you so much further along than that cheap thrill of.
Oh, I think it's deeper. I don't even think it's a cheap thrill. I think it's like, so there are people that, get plastic surgery for a wide variety of reasons. You know what I mean? Like some people, they have health things. They need to get things done.
Sure.
And then some things it's totally vain because, they just need to see themselves a certain way. And then in some aspects, it's like people feel like they're worthless unless they look a certain way.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of this, like, number buying, botting on bands and things like that people do, I think it's just like artists being really desperate and just feeling like that need that they need to look a certain way online. They need to have those numbers in order to feel validated.
Yeah.
And, just like anybody else, you could say like, oh, you could work out and get the tummy that you want, or you can get liposuction, or some dramatic,
sure,
like whatever dramatic example you want to give. But I really think that a lot of it is that same, whatever like chemical is in your brain that makes you feel that sort of way. Like, I don't know, whatever gets released that triggers that sort of feeling in you.
Is that dopamine?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not smart enough. This isn't fucking Joe Rogan right now. So I have no idea. I can't start talking about anything too in deep. But I have a feeling that just whatever that is in your brain that gets released, that causes like that anxiety or feeling of like emptiness or like lack of self-worth. I feel like they're really similar, and it's just an easy way out. Like, oh, like, I don't have the face that I want, so I can get a nose job. Like, oh, I don't have the following that I want, but I can throw $500 at the internet and get it. Okay, it's fake, but it's still there.
People don't love themselves enough.
That's a good point. Maybe
and people
but
it's like, not to be like throw this word out because it's so overused, but it's true, is gratitude. Like, I'm guilty of being ungrateful, because we all want to be better,
Absolutely.
and then we will concentrate. The first thing when we want to be better, the first thing that we automatically concentrate on is what we lack. And if you concentrate on what you lack, you're basically your mind's going to be fixated on that. And you're telling your, subconscious mind, that's what I want, and then you almost like attract that, like more more roadblocks, and don't get me wrong. Yeah. We need roadblocks to overcome. It's cool to, to go from benching 225 to 250, milestones. It feels great when we break through a barrier. But I think a lot of people, I don't know. I just feel like I can only speak for myself, is I know that years ago, I was an ungrateful prick when it came to myself and music. I drank way too much. And I didn't value myself as a musician, as an artist. I used to say, don't call me an artist. I'm not a fucking artist. I fucking hate that. I'm just a dude. I'm just, whatever. Trying to play the whole humility card.
Sure.
And thinking that would endear people to me. And it was just, I hated myself. And I hated, and I guess I just didn't have that bone in my body to hate myself and write great music about it at the time, like some artists have. Because there's some really great music of artists who hated themselves, and it's like brilliant. I didn't have that. I needed to learn how to love myself more and try and convey that to other people, and try and tell people just, it's really easy too. Just kind of, it's not easy. But it's easy when you look back and say, wow, I did that, but at the time it can be a slippery slope to get out of when you're just always down on yourself. And I think that's why people do that. They go out and buy likes. They go out and, they work that job from Monday through Friday, and they hate it, and they do it because they have to. And then, you know, a lot of times you kind of do have to. So what do you do fucking Friday? Sometimes at 6 o'clock when the work bell rings. What do? You're downstairs, man, plowing through as many beers as you fucking can.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was me. You know, I did the same thing, and so I can empathize with that. It's just like you just want to escape. You want to escape the hell that you're living in. You know, throughout the week, you want to forget about it and get lost, even if it's just for an hour. You know,
it's never just an hour though.
No, happy hour.
Yeah,
happy hour is never just an hour. So, I mean, I can understand why people do it on so many different levels. I mean, the level I was, talking about the drinking, that's an extreme level.
Yeah,
that a lot of people in society take. But from a musician standpoint, we want the same. The good vibes from outside. We need the approval from the outside world. And it's just like when you play Madden on a video game. Why are you playing Madden? To get that instant approval of touchdown. I can score 49 points with, Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Tossing the football, and it, 19 for 19 for 385 yards. You get that instant gratification, like cocaine, like heroin, like
I just think like
anything. Yeah. I think that's my theory on it, because that's why. I mean, yeah, I heard about buying likes and someone pitching it to me and saying, well, it's going to make you look really good, it's going to make you look pro, and then that's going to attract that booking agent you want. It's going to attract that manager you want. It's going to attract the record label you want. People are going to see your numbers are big. You got 10,000 more likes than all the other bands around town. It's going to look good, and you go, cool. Instant dopamine dump. You're like, great. You of course it's we're creatures of convenience, especially nowadays, with these supercomputers in our pockets.
Yeah.
And I'm not denouncing the supercomputer in my pocket. I love my supercomputer.
Yeah.
My Star Trek tricorder.
No, they're incredibly powerful things to have that could be used for such unbelievable good, especially for bands and things like that.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Sometimes the businesses run from
absolutely,
this thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the brain trust, right? What's your brain trust? It's a Samsung.
I think it's just so important for people to not, be aware that those things exist. And of course, it's important you want to build a fan base, but it needs to be genuine, and it's going to need to take time. Be patient, be positive.
Yeah.
Be productive, and just, put the energy out into the world that you wish to receive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want people to be stoked about your music, you need to be stoked about your music.
Be stoked about your music and be serious about it. Like, one of the coolest, people on earth that I know in the music industry is Mike Minda from the Common Heart.
Okay.
He's a guitar player, and Clinton, from the Common Heart. When I think it was 2 years ago at the Randy Bauman Ramble, it might have been 3. No, I think it was 2 years ago. I looked at the Common Heart announced these tour dates, and I went, whoa, wow! Look at all those tour dates, wow! And I didn't know that they had an agent at the time, but I asked Clinton, I was like, dude, you've been making some phone calls, man. He's like, no, I got something else to do. He's like, yeah, we're going for it. We're gonna do this thing. And that whole, when you have that
was a really good impression of him, by the way. Yeah.
Hey, Clinton, I love you, man.
Hell yeah.
He's a super.
He's a good dude. Yeah,
great guy. Yeah.
When the fuck are you gonna sit down here, man? Been trying to get a hold of him. It's okay. He's busy.
A little busy.
He's a little
in,
busy. It's fine.
He's in like, I don't know, Alaska.
No,
right
to be
now
fair,
or
I think I asked him to be on the show once like 2 years ago, and I didn't hear back from him. That's fine. It's like whatever.
If you can get Menda, he's a good conversation.
I'll run into him. It's like it's one of those things. I'll see him. And,
so,
what's up, dude?
The thing when he's like, we're going for it.
Yeah.
And I think what people need to see what you said, that you're loving what you do, but they also want to see that you're really serious about what you're doing. And this is just me speaking. I can't speak for everyone else, but you got to have that burn the boats moment with your band if you really want to take it to some great heights. Meaning, the Cortez story where they land in Mexico and he burns the fucking boats and he's like, okay, we ain't leaving till this continent's conquered. And what, and that's, I think you have to kind of have that mentality when you're going to be a touring, working full-time, full-out band. And it kills a lot of bands. I mean, we've gone through so many member changes. I'm the only original member left.
Yeah.
And it can be, I mean, some people take it personally, but I mean, luckily in our case, no one has. There's fights. I just heard of a band, a big band from Ohio that just announced they broke up, Red Sun Rising, and it was, that's tough to hear, but they went for it and they did it. They got on Sonic Temple stage. They played all over the country, and I believe they played over in Europe, and they did some things. And I think every band that you've ever seen, I'd say 99% of them, all had this moment of, okay, I might lose my house this month, but I don't give a shit because I'd rather lose my house than quit doing this.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to scare everyone out of, some people out of doing what they do, but look yourself in the mirror and say the Steve Jobs thing. If this is the last day of my life, am I going to love what I'm doing? Yeah. It's like, am I really, really loving what I'm doing? Is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? Well, before you wake up and go to that job at,
Sure. And I think the other thing too is that if you are, I think everybody should ask themselves that. I think it's important, but also to like be able to answer that question honestly.
Yeah.
And really know what it is that you want to do, because there are plenty of bands that, stress about, oh, we're not big enough, we're not a touring band. But if you broke down what being in a touring band actually is to them, some of them may not even want to do that. So they're arguing and stressing over a lifestyle that they don't even really want.
There's only hotels if they're given to you.
So it's like, take a step back and be like,
there's no
really,
drugs are free. Usually no free alcohol.
Yeah, like what do you really want to do? Like, okay, you want to play music. That's right. But maybe you don't want to tour all the time, but you still want to play music. That's great.
You can do that.
Focus on that. Stop focusing on the fact that your band isn't touring all the time.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're not successful as a person. It doesn't mean that you can't live a great life.
Right.
If you're fucking happy, like just don't take what you have for granted and really think about the little, like what you do have. And if it's not enough, if you do want to be touring, cool, take that next step. But if you're like, shit, like this just isn't what I want, why am I even worrying about this? Then stop worrying about it. Just be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
A lot of people get really, really stressed out, or bands break up for no good reason. Like, like bands that have half the band, there's no way they could ever tour anyways. But like, there's this thing where it's like, well, I don't think I'll ever be able to tour, so I don't think I could be in this band anymore. Or we don't want you in this band anymore because, we're thinking of going on tour. It's like, are you really going to do it or not?
We've had guys quit for that very reason. It's just that's probably the number one reason why guys have just stopped, is because like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And it's hard. It's really hard. It's a strain on your finances. It's a strain on the family back home. If you have any family back home, it can be, it's a strain on like you're living in a van basically, because we don't have a tour bus or anything like that. We just got a van and a trailer, and you're sleeping on couches, you're sleeping on floors, it's Tuesday. It can be a Tuesday, and I don't know what town, who knows where, swing station somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and there's 5 people there, and you aren't going to make that much money because it's a door deal, and you still have to play your heart out. You still, at least you should, because if you fucking phone it in, then then
what's the point?
What's the point? And you feel like shit afterwards because you phoned it in, because when you go out that far away from home, it's almost, no matter how big the venue or how small the venue, how many people are there or not, there's something about it. It's like, hey, I'm this far away from home. I might as well kill it tonight. Give it my best. Even if I don't got, even if I'm not on my game tonight, I'm going to try my damnedest to perform, as best I can. That's the one cool thing about, going out on the, out and about and being that far away from home. But bringing that every night and having the mentality every night, that's also a strain on your psyche. Because there's just some days you're just like, fuck, I ain't feeling it today. And you've got to, you got to bring your A game, because you just don't know who's going to be in the audience.
Exactly.
You have no idea. The Rusted Brute story is hilarious. How Sheryl Crow showed up to a gig. She was the only person there. And that's very rare happening, but I think Sean and I always talk. It's like that day you decide to not bring your A game, you'll never know if that someone's in the audience. It's because they're not going to call you up and say, hey, I expected a lot more from you. Sorry.
Totally.
You're not even going to hear about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's been times where we've had shows where with my Sykes and a New Violence project, we have a lot of external stuff that we do that's very production based, video lighting stuff. And we had a show at Howlers, and we weren't headlining, we were opening. And it was just
moving, not closing, right? They're moving. They're not Howlers.
They're supposedly moving. I have no idea.
Okay.
This show was a long time ago.
Okay.
But they are supposedly getting a new space, but I wouldn't expect it to happen within the next 2 to 3 years. Sorry. But anyways, so I was just bringing up that place because like you've been in that room before.
Sure.
You know what it's
our first Pittsburgh gig was at Howlers.
And we're an opening band, opening up for bands out of town. Mm-hmm. It's not our fucking show. It's a weeknight. I'm like, there's going to maybe be 20, 30 people here if we're lucky. Am I going to bring all of this other shit and are we going to do the full show or are we just going to play a set? And I was like, fuck it. Let's do the whole show.
Yeah.
Do the whole fucking thing. And lo and behold, somebody that I hadn't seen in a long time, that's a friend of mine that plays in a touring band and knows a lot of people. He just happened to be home in town and he was there. So he got to see the whole fucking thing, even though it was not our show.
Yeah.
It was cool because he got to see it. And since he got to see it, he was able to like share it with some people that he knew in the industry and just spread the word a little bit. Nothing happened, but it's still like, that was a nice opportunity rather than us just phoning it in, playing a half-ass set. Just like,
feels good.
It was just kind of like, I'm really glad that we fucking brought all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's, again, you never know who's going to be there.
You never know. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. So it just, all right, kids, bring your A game.
I would say, and I keep saying this a lot recently on this show, I think in general, I mean, it's one thing, day of to be like, oh, fuck, I don't feel like fucking doing this today. But I think that when you're getting to a point and when people are asking you to play shows, it's a little bit different. Like, because if you're like a touring band and you're going to take anything you could get.
Sometimes.
But when the tables turn and people start asking you to play things and you're able to pick and choose and you're able to, don't say yes to everything. I think that like you should only play a show if you genuinely want to play it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We learned that lesson the hard way. You know, we were like hunting and for gigs, and we, you know, don't oversaturate yourself in a market. You know, whether it's in town or out of town. Like we could very easily play in Youngstown and Pittsburgh every month if we wanted to, but people don't love you that much.
Sure.
You're not a tribute band. You're not a house band where, you know, the people are, you know, or anything like that. So
the best thing that I think that a band can do if you are, you know, on like a tri-state hustle is just try to always find new bands to play with. Don't find yourself playing with the same bands in those areas.
Very true.
Because like new bands will always bring in, you know, 20 people that haven't seen you before, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it can really fucking add up. Absolutely. If you're consistent.
Yeah. Like when we go out, when we go look at a city, we don't necessarily look for just venues. We're looking for other bands as well.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Yeah, because what we can do is we can present to a promoter and say, okay, look, we have these two guys. We know you know them. They're on board with us. Can we have this date at this specific
Well, it's like
venue?
the venue's the keyhole, but the bands are the keys.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. Yeah. Exactly. It's you know, and as far as like playing around your area too much, I think you don't want to play too little. You don't want to like go away for years or a year, but like we didn't play our own headlining. We played one headlining show in Pittsburgh last year. The rest of them were like, one was like a Stage AE, like Steelers event. Another one was like a Stage AE thing with the Clarks, like they were the headliner. But we could have very easily, in between those two, had headlining gigs all throughout the year. But I think doing the one headlining thing at the end of the year after we had a really strong tour all year, I think that really is what a big reason why people were like, oh my God, they're finally playing in town. And you know, we sold the place out like very quickly. And it's special. It's an event, you know, like because these days I can safely say that people just don't go out to randomly see bands.
No.
Like they just don't. They want more than that. You know, they want to be able to, they want to go to an event.
Sure. If you're, you know, playing to an older demographic, it's like that's going to be their night out. You know, if people are getting somebody to watch their kids and doing all this stuff, you know, I mean, for you, it's another show, but for a lot of people, it's like, this might be the one night that month that they're going out. Mm-hmm. So sure, they maybe want to see your band, but they probably also want to get drinks somewhere. They might want to try, you know, the new cool restaurant or something that's down the street, or they, you know, like 1,000 things, and they're trying to cram it all in. Right. So the best thing that you could do is create an event and make it as like all inclusive as possible. Give people a reason to stay there. Because, you know, as good as your band is, people aren't coming just to see
There's
you.
There's a lot of good bands out there.
There's like,
if that's your only basis for wanting to come see you, you're done. You know, it's just like you've got to do something more than that. You got to be more like you know, we said the music and having a great show and having great songs. That's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a video game reference here. It's just like they allow you to start the game with a character and a gun, you know?
Yeah.
It's, you know, that's the good we have the good band, we have the songs. That is character and gun, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's how you start the game. But as far as like finishing the game, you know, and beating the game, it's just like, well, that's all the other extra little things.
Strategy.
Yeah. You can't just worry about how good you are. There's a lot of great bands out there. I mean, we, you know, you have to do something to set yourself apart. And I prefer to do something that isn't a gimmick, that isn't gimmicky or isn't like overly trendy. I just want to do something that's pure and, and not pure in the sense where someone from the outside say that's pure. Something that I know is pure to me. Something that I know is like, this is me. I feel this way. And I have no problem, getting up on the mic and spitting out these lyrics, and hitting people as hard as I can with them and playing these chords and playing these songs and standing to the guys next to me doing it. I'm totally open to letting people see that about me. And I think, when you do that sort of thing, along with the light show and you want to bring some pyro and you want to wear costumes or something like that, or you want to dress up the car as much as possible. That's all good, and make sure that your set is, I don't know, it flows.
Yeah, totally.
You do that, and you know who Damian Keys is? Have you ever seen his?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I just caught this guy. He's he gives really good advice about like rehearsal and stuff like that. Just like, and I'm waiting for him. I'm sure he has one out there about how to construct a show, but I bet you he would say the same thing. Just about like, don't just go up there and play songs.
Oh yeah, no. I think that's whenever I see bands and it's just like, are you playing a show or are we at a band practice? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Just fucking off in between songs for too long, no contact with the stage. It's like as awkward as like if you go into a Taco Bell and you're just standing at the counter and everybody's looking at you but nobody's serving you. You're just like there like, come on, like,
hey man,
I'm ready for more music. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And it's like, I get it. You got to fucking tune your guitar. You got to do this and that. Shit happens, but engage with the audience. Keep it engaging somehow.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to fucking talk, do the dumb thing where they dim the lights and there's like some stupid backtrack thing that happens and then the lights come back up and you play another song.
Yeah.
Find a way to get around it. Just don't play that whole like too cool for school or just like, we're obviously awkward, especially when like there's a band that just fucking like really rips through a song and it's just like, attitude through the wall, very like they're really getting it. And then in between songs, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. All of a sudden it's now they're like this like timid thing or it's like, oh hey, thanks for coming to the show,
drinking a beer,
blah blah blah,
making sure that putting their drink order in through the microphone. What time's the kitchen close?
That's actually funny, but
you're right. Like, I've witnessed it firsthand. Like, it just kind of like, I don't know, when you go up there, give people something special. Give us something to remember, not because the thing that they're going to remember is the bullshit in between the songs. You're like, see that guy? Just how long did they take him between those two songs?
Yeah.
Because he was ordering a beer.
Sure. Just play the set. Just play the set.
Or what the hell were they talking about between songs?
Yeah.
I know
I know that like you had said before that you weren't like a huge punk rock guy. But one of the things that I really took in an early age from punk was the Ramones.
I like the Ramones.
And yeah, I mean, they're power pop gone punk, but like they live sets, just no bullshit. Song. Just fucking do it. Just
did that
rip
come
it.
from punk?
Well, I mean, the Ramones were one of the first bands that I encountered that I saw
do that
in a live environment where it was just like, just fucking start, go, just fucking rip through it. Like, whoa.
It's probably because they just didn't want to talk to anyone.
Probably. They probably knew goddamn well that if, they just had nothing to say. Or they're.
I love that.
None of them were that great looking. I'm sure that their normal speaking voices were awkward at the time. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck it.
The band
hair over the eyes. Just fucking play fast, loud, rip it, get off stage.
Right.
Don't let people see the
total command.
Of
the
just
audience.
Keep coming.
Stage. Yeah.
Because when you have that volume, you have the attention.
The band that I envy, like, so much, and not just because I like their songs, and is Oasis, how they can just stand there and command a stadium. They just stand there and play. Like, with their sunglasses. Like, he's like people are like, he's the worst frontman. I was like, fuck that. He's the best frontman. He doesn't even have to do anything Jagger does. He doesn't have to do anything that Steven Tyler does or Axl or any frontman. He stands there and he's playing Wembley. He's playing Wembley Stadium. And they seem like...
Yeah, their music had a different energy, though. Like, it was very big, very rock, but it didn't have... There's no way that you could play a majority of the Rolling Stones catalog with people standing on stage and believe it. But you could believe it with Oasis.
Yeah.
Just because their music, it's a different tempo, it's a different feel, it's a different attitude, a different vibe.
Yeah. I always marveled at that.
Like, cut me on, you're playing Start Me Up and just standing there. Give me a break, bro.
My stage persona is more towards what you described with the Ramones.
Yeah.
It's, like I'm
just
trying,
go for it.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Because the Oasis thing, I'd be like a caged lion trying to do that.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too, is you're playing decent, mid to higher tempo rock and roll songs. You know, they're just it calls for that energy. It's like you almost need that extra movement in it, as you're playing, to get the right dynamics to make it feel proper.
Right.
But
you got to keep that energy level.
Yeah. You have to. That's the other thing. Like, when I see heavy metal bands play, and they have drummers that play soft, heavy metal drummers that play soft.
Are those exist?
Oh yeah, they do.
Do they really?
On more of an underground starting out level, bands that are just figuring the shit out.
Sure.
Not on a not like stadium level metal bands. I'm talking more just with Greywalker, and we play shows with other local bands if we're in different cities, or if we're even here, you know what I mean? There's always a band that you never heard of that's opening up the gig sometimes, and sometimes a lot of the time they're just these real light-handed drummers. It's well, they haven't been playing drums that long. It's a new band, you get it. And it's a lot of them don't. It's what does it why what sounds off about this?
Right.
It's he's playing, and sure, he can play on time. He's not offbeat. He's not a bad drummer. But you're talking heavy metal. You gotta fucking be slamming your drums to get the right intensity. That's what's so great about those types of instruments, is because not only does what you're playing technically, what you're doing dictate the sound that's coming out, but the intensity that you're doing it creates a different feeling.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
With heavy metal, I mean, it's all about intensity, dude. You need it.
I love it. Another type, a whole genre of people that I envy, just metal, the metal people. I could never play metal. I just don't have the chops. I can't sing like Dio, so I can't do metal. So, but I marvel at watching Dream Theater.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Or what the hell? Oh man. What's that? There's slipping my mind now. Bruce Dickinson.
Iron Maiden.
I love Iron Maiden.
Hell yeah, dude.
They just anytime someone mentions Iron Maiden, I'm like, yes. They're just so much fun to watch and listen to.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
There's so much, just energy, emotion, passion, technicality, melody, rhythm. It's theatrical to a point, you know. It's just it's this whole package of just it's a spectacle. It's just this ball of fire, and it's really fun to pick that fucking thing up and be like, whoa, this is really cool.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
2 minutes to midnight.
It's an excellent song.
All right.
Excellent song. So speaking of 2 minutes to midnight,
I was gonna say I didn't even realize
we're 2 minutes past our. Well, I don't really have a deadline, but we've been going for about an hour 15.
I can't believe we talked. It felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So which
we're
is fine.
Be here for another 3 hours, folks.
We could keep on chatting, but I'll tell you this: we got 20% battery left on the camera, and we got we got some things to do. I got mixes to work on.
Yeah.
Homie, we got stuff to do. It's garbage night. I got to gather trash and shit. Adult stuff.
I got bags to pack.
Oh yeah, you're hitting a big old road. Do you have a show before Wisconsin?
Yeah, we're playing in a little town called New Philadelphia, Ohio tomorrow.
Rad.
A place called Broadway Brew House.
Have you been there before?
Yeah, it's super cool. A lot of Ohio State Buckeye fans there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really, you're in Buckeye country. They got but they treat us really well there. They, another like cool little town that we've been able to stumble upon that loves rock music.
Hell yeah.
A lot of the rock fans, they're not always in the big cities. You got to go to little towns like, just as much as we go to, Milwaukee or Columbus or Cleveland, we also got to go to the New Philadelphia, Ohio's and the Brazil, Indianas and the Terre Hautes and stuff like that. Yeah,
those towns are great, especially for, low, mid-level touring bands. Those places are great because the other thing too is like you have, towns of people that are just grateful that you're there. Mm-hmm. They like rock and roll. And a lot of the time, not all the time, but some of the times the venues are really appreciative of you too. And they'll actually take care of you.
Yeah. And then when you get a gig in the big city nearby them, they'll show up to that.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to them. Because Appleton's not that big of a town in Wisconsin. It's like, I think it's in a group of like small towns that make kind of a big city. But when we play in Appleton, and then when we would go play like Milwaukee or Chicago, those people drive the 2 hours down from there and see us. It's really cool. So yeah, sometimes don't always shoot for the big cities, Totally. Find those small towns outside of the cities and find a venue that'll take you, because they'll be more than happy to have a great band with great songs who are professionals and who are nice guys, and they'll take you in and they'll treat you right. And then when you make the step up, they'll go along with you.
Hell yeah.
So this was really great.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks for hitting me up, Jay. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Before we pull the plug on this whole thing, let people know where they can find the band.
Oh, we're on Spotify. I mean, that's the first place we've been trying to get people to go over to. So please check us out on there, listen to the music, and then go on Instagram and, follow us there. Let us know, what you like about us. Let us know what you don't like about us. We like that too.
Sure.
I love criticism. I love it. I'm like the Chris Drager of rock and roll, Chris.
No idea.
That's a Parks and Rec character.
Okay.
Not the best character on that show, but very funny. So, and it's just at the Hawkeyes on Instagram. Twitter's at the Hawkeyes. And then, of course, we're on the Facebook and we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're all over the place.
Look them up.
Look them up. Please.
Look them up.
Love you all.
And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Jay, the Hawkeyes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat 2020. Woo, woo. Thanks for listening. And we are done. Fade out. Fade out.